Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be doing a first impressions video of the new June Bride collab or event coming to Japan for Puzzle and Dragons. So, Japan generally has things 2 to 3 months ahead of us, so we can expect to have the June Bride event in August, September, most likely. And at least this will give us a bit of a insight as to what to expect, because we are having obviously events coming up for our own selves, and just knowing what's coming up in Japan is important because we can plan our magic stone usage out and whether or not we want to spend them on the current event or save them for the future. So this revival of the June Bride event basically is going to grant us several new characters as well as buffs slash limit breaking super awakens for some existing cards. So in terms of new units, we have Wedding Roshana. I'm not sure what kind of bride is dressed like this. Maybe I'm just used to the traditional white garb or white gown, but this Roshana here has 3 skill boosts, which is actually quite interesting. Like, having 3 skill boosts is actually quite unique to a certain extent and quite powerful on a variety of teams. And with a 7-turn base cooldown, it's not the hardest thing to actually inherit over top of. Their active skill is recover 40% of their maximum health and then change the top row to wood. So this may or may not have practical applications for your desired team, but the healing can be useful in case you need to tank large preemptives or if your team has large amounts of health. Like, you can be creative. Like, there are at least some uses for it. Their leader skill is interesting. They do provide you a 7x6 board and increase orb movement time by 5 seconds. Furthermore, they do add 2.5 times attack for each water, wood, or light cross matched. So you have incredible flexibility, and you are going to be able to activate from a given board regardless of almost how badly you match, because basically 50% of the possible elements on the board can be matched in a cross formation to deal damage. Obviously, you want to actually match multiple crosses to deal damage, because if you match 1 cross, well, you're not going to do much. 2 crosses, it's still not going to be that great in all honesty. Maybe you'll sweep some baby content, but if you have enough 7 combo awakening cards, it can have merit there. And then with 3 crosses, well, then damage starts to ramp up. But then the big issue is you start with a 7x6 board, so you don't have to do like Chazelle and like matcha slash leader swapping shenanigans or whatever you may use for 7x6 creation. So it comes with that built in. But because of that, their leader skills output is actually lower. Like, they do have 5 seconds of orb movement time, which is wonderful for color cross teams, but with dual leaders, having both of them make 7x6 boards is not that helpful. So for the most part, you're most likely not going to want to actually use Wedding Roshana as both leaders, just because, well, you're kind of wasting a large component of the leader skills. So you want to pair yourself with other color cross leaders that can utilize water, wood, or light crosses. So if we pair with just like the regular Roshana from like the Descend dungeon, they do have a higher multiplier in the sense that they do 3 times damage per cross instead of 2.5 times. Again, the damage becomes kind of silly at the point where you're matching 3 or 4 crosses anyways, so it's not too big of a deal having a slightly lower multiplier. But then you do give yourself no Skyfall, so then you give yourself a penalty, but you at least have the 7x6 board right away. You do get the health bonus from regular Roshana, so it can have some pros and cons. Like, Roshana is farmable at least, and you can pair with a wedding version. This would obviously have much more value in shorter content, because in shorter content, well, you're not going to be able to stall up for the leader swapping. So if you entered, say, with like Chazelle plus a friend Roshana, it might take too long to actually charge up the leader swap. So this can have some value if you're playing through shorter content. But if you're playing through content where you can stall and kind of dance your way long enough, double Roshana will be a better option, because, well, you have the giant health pool and you technically have a higher damage multiplier. But in terms of Wedding Roshana's other great aspects, she does have that 7 combo awakening, which does help her own personal damage, but she also has void damage penetration. So if you were unfortunate enough not to get Yusuke, this is actually a reasonable alternative. Like, it's not going to be as incredible as Yusuke, because Yusuke is able to actually have 2 7 combo awakenings, so technically his personal damage is 2 times higher. But at least with Wedding Roshana, you have balance typing, so you can get any killer latent, which is a great aspect overall. And they do come with 3 skill boosts, so that can again be important, because sometimes when you are playing with a void damage penetration card, you are basically playing through a dungeon where it's somewhat shorter and you need to have skills come up fast enough. So if you pop an active skill like Avalon Drake or I forgot who makes water, wood, and light orbs from a board changer, but you can pop something along those lines, make multiple crosses. You do get Skyfalls, which is nice. You can possibly have a large enough amount of damage to actually sweep some content. So that can be meaningful and nice for the most part. So it's a nice new card. Is it worth trading for? Hard to say. Like, it's nowhere near as dominant as Yusuke, and it can be a leader or a sub, but it's not as spectacular as Yusuke as a leader or as spectacular as Yusuke as a sub. So again, it might be a little challenging to justify, but she is much prettier. Next is Wedding Raijin. So Raijin loves TPA, and the wedding form obviously loves the TPA as well. She's got 2 TPAs. Her active skill is no Skyfalls for 1 turn, so that just screams damage control, as well as having a shorter base cooldown. Remove locked orbs, change all orbs to fire, water, wood, light, dark, and heal. So a Dark Kelly board changer with orb unlocking, but no Skyfalls. I'd feel that regular Roshanna is a little better, because usually you want to have Skyfalls, but again, it might have applications where you don't want to deal too much damage, where you need to control your damage. In terms of their leader skill, they have no Skyfall, so obviously the no Skyfall component of their active skill is not a burden. And they do 6 times attack for attackers, 4 times attack when attacking with 5 attributes. So 5 attributes is doable for the most part, and you do have 4 times 6, 24, 24 times 24. That's a very large amount of damage. Like 25 times 25 is 625 times, so it's a bit less than that. So you have more than enough damage to blow things up. You're going to be kind of like Kaede in the sense. Like, it's going to feel very similar to Kaede, I feel, because, well, you have a very similar amount of damage output and the no Skyfall clause, but their activation requirements may or may not be easier. It just depends on, I guess, the type of player and your playstyle preferences, but you can make less combos with Raijin. But the nice aspect of Wedding Raijin is that she comes with a follow-up attack, which does somewhat get diluted with 2 leaders, but hey, it's already built in. You don't need to worry about bringing a certain card for follow-up attack if you didn't have good options. You also have 7 combos, so higher personal damage with double TPA. So if you can make a TPA, like a water TPA, hit 7+ combos, they're going to be dealing massive amounts of damage. So it can be a viable option as a leader, but it won't be as efficient at farming as Kaede, because Kaede can technically just make a ward board and swipe and kill things with Zeus Dios actives. But as a sub, Wedding Raijin will actually be pretty reasonable. Like, being bind immune, having follow-up attack is quite helpful. So it's not a bad option. Cotton generally is a better choice because, well, Cotton has a shorter base cooldown, and it's sometimes, well, it depends what active skill you're needing more. You need the Orb Unlock plus the board changer. It all depends, but shorter base cooldown means you can inherit something over top of the Cotton more easily. And the drawback of Wedding Raijin is, like, they have no base recovery, so it can make a bit of an issue of healing. At least Blue Cotton has some recovery, and I didn't do the math on their weighted stats, but I feel like Cotton has higher weighted stats, and even though Raijin has higher base attack, unless you make a TPA, you're not out damaging Cotton. But again, it's a nice option to have if you are missing many other follow-up attack options. So again, with the revival of the June Bride event, we have New Awakenings, or Super Awakenings, I should say, which means the card has to be limit broken. So Wedding Sheet already has 5 TPAs. You can give her a 6th TPA with her Super Awakenings. Like, is that necessary? Maybe. You can get comically high amounts of damage. You can throw a Weld on there as an inherit for the 7th TPA. That would make her the most TPA-able monster in the game. Sure, cool, it can do interesting things, might have merit, but you might see high amounts of damage. Like, her base damage is obviously a little lower to compensate. She does have a follow-up attack, so maybe you might find some value with Wedding Sheet on certain light base teams where you can justify this adding a TPA in, like using light orb changers, that sort of idea. Like Yusuke, I don't think Wedding Sheet takes away water orbs. I feel like she wouldn't, because she has water as her sub attribute. So you can make a big board, like a light heavy board combo for 7+, and throw in a TP or 2. Sheet will out damage most people on the team. But again, is that really necessary? Not so sure. But she is very pretty. And in terms of other buffs that are possible, we have Wedding Satsuki. It's not going to change a thing. We're not going to ever use them more than they used to. Wedding Akachi used to be one of the most desirable inherits in the game when Miru reigned supreme, but she is coming back. But unfortunately, it's not going to be as sexy as before for the most... Well, it actually would be pretty good. So it still makes the light enhanced and heart, so it's going to help. But the problem is having bonus awakenings does no good, because you're not going to run Akachi as a sub. You didn't really run Akachi as a sub back when Miru was popular. You're not going to run Akachi as a sub when Miru gets her new evolution. And then Wedding Persephone does gain... Well, Wedding Persephone is a color void absorb card. So basically you can negate the absorption from, like, say, Machine Goemon, Machine Hera, Noah Dragon. The absorb, not the damage void, though. for Noah Dragon. So having the max cooldown being reduced from 16 to 11 is quite nice. It helps put her more on par with the other options available in the Rare Machine. Nice to have. Gaining the extra awakenings of Team Recovery and full bind immunity can have value, because if you're running through a short dungeon, let's say, that has the color absorb, you can put Wedding Persephone as a sub. At least it's going to be bind immune, and it will come up much faster and provide some more merit to your team overall. In terms of limit breaking, the Farmable gets limit breaking. Just ignore that for the most part. And then Wedding Eshamali gains full bind immunity, a 7 combo, and a skill boost. Like, they're nice and all, but Wedding Eshamali is kind of challenging to use at this point in time. Not too many cards really want to use her, I believe. So it's nice to have, but not that great. So, like, if these are all the new buffs and things coming out for the June Bride event, like, it is nice. You definitely are getting the pretty girl aspect, but unfortunately, all the pretty girls are going to be super rare to acquire. Like, they are increasing or introducing new 8-star cards. So again, things are just going to be very hard to actually roll. So it's kind of like, well, it's nice and all, but I feel like it's not going to make a big splash in the meta. It's more so for the fan service to give players the chance to acquire pretty girls. So let me know what you think about the June Bride event in the comments below. Do you think it's worth rolling for? Do you think it's worth saving and skipping over, say, the Kenshin collab, which is coming out on Monday? I'm currently writing my review for it. It will be out sometime on the weekend, most likely Sunday. So hopefully you'll have a Mantastic day. Wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.